يا نفس إن لم تظفري لا تجزعي.
We often think the heart is just a pump. But in Islam and even in modern science, the heart holds deeper secrets.
أفلم يسيروا في الأرض فتكون لهم قلوب يعقلون بها أو آذان يسمعون بها فإنها لا تعمى الأبصار ولكن تعمى القلوب التي في الصدور.
The heart in Islam is not just flesh. It sees. It understands. Allah describes the heart not just as an organ but as the seat of understanding, guidance, and awareness.
إن في ذلك لذكرى لمن كان له قلب أو ألقى السمع وهو شهيد.
The heart has 40,000 neurons, a heart brain. It sends signals to the brain, affecting emotions, decision-making. HeartMath Institute shows the heart's electromagnetic field is the strongest in the body. The heart and brain communicate in a two-way system, not just top-down. Neuroscience has discovered the heart talks to the brain and influences how we feel, think, even decide.
Most of us have had the experience of being in the presence of another person, or even a place of business sometimes, where we just have a sense, a feeling that something's off. So now we're able to put science behind that. We really understand why this is happening, or on the other hand, why it can feel really good to be around certain people. So for example, when you go to the doctor's office and they put electrodes across your chest to measure your heartbeat, your electrocardiogram, what you're measuring there is the flow of electricity. That's why it's called the electrocardiogram. It's the electricity produced by the heart. We know from basic physics that whenever you have a flow of current, you also create what's called a magnetic field. The same kind of field around a magnet like you stick on your refrigerator. Magnetic fields are unique in that they tend to go through things, they penetrate. That's why a cell phone will work inside of a building. In fact, a cell phone is a great analogy for what I'm talking about here. So we use the magnetic field between our cell phone and the tower to carry the information, the photograph that you just took, or the conversation you're having, or the text message. It's all being carried by the field. So what I'm saying here is we work the same way. The magnetic fields that are produced, especially by the heart, is a carrier of information, especially about our emotional state. So that was step one. We can actually decode that information, and so anger or frustration looks very different, the information being carried, than if we're in a state of love or appreciation, compassion, kindness, and so on. The next step then was to find and show that we're also antennas. Our nervous systems are like a big receiving antenna, kind of like back to our cell phone, receiving the signal. So we can detect that information in other people's fields. And not only that, not only do we detect it, it actually has measurable effects on us.
The heart shapes our emotions, stress response, and even our decisions. Where revelation meets reason, we see the same truth. The heart is a center of knowledge and guidance.
We accept the responsibility for our own immune response and longevity enzymes and resilience and all the other things, super memory, super cognition, super learning, all these things that are available to us. It all begins in the human heart. And this is where the action is. So I wanted to preface what I'm about to say with that. 1991, scientists made a discovery that shocked the medical community for sure, and the scientific community in general. What they found was a neural network inside the human heart. They found about 40,000 specialized cells. They're called sensory neurites. They're like neurons, brain, but they're not in the brain, they're in the heart. They think independently of the human brain. They feel independently of the human brain. They sense, they remember independently of the human brain. So right there, I've just said a big piece of information that affects all of us, and here's why. The heart has a very different language. It doesn't always work with the words. So this is one of the amazing things that we're finding out about the human heart. When I was in school back in the 1950s and 60s, it's a mind blower to me to say that. But when I was in school in the 50s and 60s, I was taught that the brain's the master organ in the body. The brain is the master organ. That's what we were taught. But the brain receives the instructions that tell it what to do from the heart. The heart sends those instructions based on the way we feel about the world around us. And those perceptions are all through the filters of our experience. So all of a sudden, the heart becomes front and center because we now know the heart is telling the brain how to regulate the body, number one. Number two, the heart, this neural network, is key in what we call heart intelligence. So, scientists they've looked at the neurons and they're saying, where's the memory? Where's the memory? Well, the memory's not in the neurons. The neurons are the antenna. They are a soft antenna, a biological antenna that is in resonance. They tune based upon our feelings. So all of a sudden, the heart takes on a whole new significance in the scientific world. It parallels our most ancient and cherished spiritual traditions, who've always said that the heart is the seat of the soul. The heart is probably one of the least understood organs in this respect. And one of the biggest mysteries is that on a particular day in the womb of our mother, in one moment in time, there's a clump of cells that are there, and in the next instant, something happens, and the first heartbeat begins. And scientists do not know what triggers that first heartbeat. There are theories. Talk about ion potentials across cell walls and things like that. The first beat of the heart is the moment that our soul comes into our bodies. Our soul is part of, but it's separate from. It's a part of us that is ageless, timeless. It is the divine that is in that field. It's when the resonance between the cells in the heart and that neural network come into phase, if you want to think of it that way, with this part of the field.
What the Quran said 1,400 years ago, science is only beginning to discover. The heart is not just a muscle. It's a moral, emotional, and spiritual compass.